Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so we can all learn together. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, endless social media posting, or any of these old, ineffective traditional marketing methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn, have a chat. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, I'm excited to have Simon Hedley on the show, and he's the owner of Strategic Alchemy. He partners and helps good people do great things and transforms ideas, resources, and relationships into extraordinary results. And they leverage his portfolios of business interest, intellectual and relationship capital, and proven approaches. So, Simon, welcome to the show today. I will call you Simon for the formality of the podcast. But it's great to have you on, man. And I want to start by asking you a question that I always love to start off with. I'm very curious about your answer on this as well. If you were to somehow have some sort of time machine to go back in time to when you first started your first business, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in the first 12 months?
So I wrote a book before I had stomach surgery a couple of years ago because I died, called Chaos to Clarity. And rule one of that book is assume nothing and confirm everything. It doesn't mean be a doubty. It means somebody says XYZ, you don't buy it at hello. So my first 12 months of business, I must admit, I was actually 13 years old, buying sherbet straws for 10p, selling them for £1. There was a lot of assumptions where somebody says something and you buy what they tell you and vice versa. To tell you that it's not the real business stuff, but it was a business. We actually got swamped and the school were like, can you stop doing this now? But we went from like nothing to £100 like in sales really quickly. But there's this whole thing when you get told what can be done and can't be done. And you tell, you and I we're podcasting today, right? Someone goes, I'm an expert at podcasting. And we buy the story. Like I'm a trained chartered accountant auditor. It's really hard to actually authenticate data. So you've told me where you came from. I haven't gone there and looked at birth certificates and had friends and FBI'd it. We sort of learn to trust and get that feel. And that touches on it. I overwrote that little spidey sense. My spidey sense went, nit, don't like this. This is not good. I now call it in the 5 connections a color code: red, amber, green, blue, purple. It's a feeling tone. There's the objective data. You and I are wearing glasses. I've actually got some, by the way, just for fun. There are glasses that I wear for photo shoots, but Jason, you'll get this. They've got no glass in. So I wear them. Somebody might see that and goes, they're fake. No, it's just for no reflection. So you get what I'm touching on. There's a bit of, we get tripped up by what other people have done, what other people see, and thinking they know better. And if they're good at communication, they're good at certainty, they're good at frameworking, it's easy to get sucked into that stuff. And that was more actually in my 30s as well. I left the banking space and it was like, I'm now going to go do this full time, not just sort of in the background. I was doing stuff already. I'm going to hire a business coach. So you find the guy in Google that ranks for business coaching and action coach world. They weren't who I thought they were, but they looked like it at hello. Does that make sense? So underneath that, you get the energy of really confirm and confirm and confirm at a level that most of us never even think to, while also being really open. And if you do that, well, it's this strange duality stuff, right? As an entrepreneur, playful out, be committed, while also holding back and not going crazy. And it's a strange one, right? Like we have to commit to make things happen as entrepreneurs and really go for it. But at the same time, if you sort of, hey, I've wired my money in a brown envelope to some guy in Africa, is that the best idea? It can work out. Same with China, same with Bradford, same in the UK. So this trust bit of the game. And if it goes wrong, it's not you. Hey, I'm going to met you. I was a top scholar, gold medal martial artist guy. I am my own harshest critic. If I mumble, the hair's not right, I didn't sleep properly last night, my nose is a bit red, I see the problems and we beat ourselves up for that. That's how we improve. But it's also not the most encouraging thing in that entrepreneur startup phase.
Yeah, definitely. So many good things out of that. I'm going to go back to one of the things you just start off with because I think this is really interesting. So I was very much the same. I was probably around 12 or 13 as well. I sold, we call candy in America. I live in the UK now, but we sold sweets, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, doing really well, shut you down, right? And I find that really interesting how the entrepreneurial spirit gets killed and in schools, and I find that really interesting. I never asked this question, but I'm just curious about this because I know you do a lot of business interests. What's one thing you would see different in schools around entrepreneur, can't even say the word today, running a business
Yeah, yeah.
that would help people and encourage people to do that so that there's a lot more openness to that whole idea around it?
Okay, so we're gonna get on my soapbox, right? I've spoken in the
Go
House of
for it.
Lords a few times. This is
Go
the
for it.
crux of my business philosophy. Jim Rohn, if you were here, I give him a coffee. There's a big difference between a business being entrepreneurial and arbitrage. This is all sort of on a good way, ethical ways of doing business, win-win-wins. And then over here, we have the ripping people off, bait and switch, dodgy world. Somebody says, we had it back in lockdown, right? And we've got some bad allergy, the toilet paper. In lockdown, there's no toilet paper in the entire world. $4 million for toilet paper. And it just becomes this weird arbitrage when you're ripping people off. And we've seen it, sadly, all the ways in the UK to the highest levels where people made billions off the NHS. Billions because they could. And aren't we successful entrepreneurs? No, you're being an arse. I think I can say that on the show, right? It's not what
Yeah.
I think's good. So we have got that dilemma about what do we mean by it. Number two, and here's one I almost ask you backwards. Would you like to pay £1 trillion of tax in your life or £0 of tax in your life?
Yeah. Well, zero, obviously.
No, I'm now £1 trillion. If
Oh,
I'm
hey.
paying £1
Okay.
trillion tax, I've done really well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that took
Yeah.
me a long time to really get that, right? And it's like we're so wired into reduce taxes. It's like, why? Just go
Mm,
make billions. Because you and I
mm,
don't need 50 outfits, 50 houses to live. And there's that real abundance and capital. And could you imagine if I was
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
show like Simon Hedley, the first man to pay £1 trillion in tax? You'd be like, tell
Yeah.
me more. We'd make more money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's that kind of a mindset switch. So we do have the issue that often the people teaching aren't necessarily the entrepreneurs. About
Hmm.
7 years ago, one of the property guys I know done really well. He wanted to literally take into schools people that we'd audited of genuinely having £1 million liquid assets. Not £1 million of property, but like, we could go in and go, look, here's your bank statements.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
even that is a hard thing to do because they might have money here and debts over here, and it gets
Yeah.
harder, right? So I do think we have to encourage it. I do think today, we're in 2026 today, it's really tricky because the amount you need to earn in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds to be workable isn't sustainable. Would you agree with that? Like there's a glitch
Yeah.
of, you know,
Yeah.
when I was my first job in London at PwC paid £18,000 a year, right? And that was enough to rent a flat and go and have a life in London. You'd struggle to rent a flat in zone 1 or 2 and pay for your food bills and your and other bit, let alone have the growth times. We're also in a space where, and I know people who are 12, 15, 21 through their parents who have made 100 grand on meme coins or are flipping some weird thing. And that's why I started with the business, the entrepreneur, the arbitrage thing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with you see something and you can buy here and sell there or sell high and buy low and do that and make a trade.
Mm.
That's different than having a business that runs without you there. I'm going to
Yeah.
guess you've come across Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth book.
Yeah.
And I've had friends that worked with him, were E-Myth coaches, some of that stuff around a business that works with or without you. I also think, and this is where we get back into some what I've been doing behind the scenes. I'm guessing with Zero, the accounting software.
Yep.
So I've been a Zero partner. I actually spoke to Microsoft about this 20 years ago. They had an amazing software called MS Money. They could have made it clouded and they killed it. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's really good for like managing your accounts. They just killed it off.
Yeah.
So how many kids at 15 have automated accounting software, are looking at cash flow, are looking at that stuff? So it's
Mm.
actually
Yeah.
quite tricky to do the bank accounts, the accounting, the cash flow. without that becoming this extra cost and burden and hassle. Now, you and I know digital world, AI world, that becomes easier, but
Yeah.
we're still going to get into a mess. So I do think there's a bit of the business philosophy, the ethics of business. And I'll tell you one other thing, which comes from a whole PhD work from a really smart American guy, which is the ethical entrepreneur will usually get in trouble and get ripped off.
Mm,
You and I make an agreement to meet at 3 p.m. in London tomorrow. I'll buy you lunch, da da da. Well, you make the deal not meaning to keep it. If I meant to keep it and you never did, we have a mismatch. So
hmm.
the entrepreneur who's ethical that goes, yeah, we're doing what we said and meaning what we said, and we're like in the real world, that's different than somebody that's deliberately trying not to do that and baiting switching. And I've seen it, by the
Yeah.
way, across from marketing companies, IT companies, speakers on stages we could talk about, right? There's a
Yeah.
whole lot
Yeah.
of, there's one of the most successful guys in the UK right now, keeps breaking the law on affiliate promotions.
Mm,
Like you can't do it without going, this is sponsored, this is an affiliate deal. It's literally a breach of like the regulations, but
yeah.
he just keeps doing it and makes money. So I'm not sure that answered the question cleanly. I do apologize,
No,
but
no, no,
it's
no.
it's a
It's
great
good.
subject. And
It's
ideally it's the
it.
partnering. And that's the
Yeah.
other bit isn't an easy answer for you. And I've jumped across again. If there was a better way to form partnerships and leave partnerships, that would be great. But the
Mm,
emotions over who owns the domain name, who owns the IP, who does the
yeah.
resources, um, and like for me, my first big thing we did at university was a drum and bass night. Carl, John, myself. John had the big hair. He was DJing with SS and Goldie. Carl was awesome. And there was me with my other bits. And together we worked and we ran literally an award-winning drum and bass night, had Goldie, Groove Rider, SS. We made money out of it and it was fun and easy. But when you then separate, it's hard to keep that going, right? John's still DJing. Went back into the banking world. So
Hmm.
if there's an easier way to form things, do it, get a win, learn the lesson, and come back out, that becomes
Yeah.
easy. And that touches
Yeah.
on the very nature of ownership, right? Whose idea is the word atomic, the word Simon, the word strategic alchemy, right?
Yeah.
So this ownership bit all gets tricky. So it's a mess, but at the heart of it is find a need, help somebody, do it ethically, and you can help them make their first pound. And I think once somebody's made £1, then you can build from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you said as well. You know, the ethical entrepreneur, they will get burned. I've gotten burned many times because I just assume when we agree something, that's what's been
We,
agreed,
and
you
it's what we
know?
meant, right? We meant what we
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've learned the hard way. I have to, as you said at the very beginning, you have to do your due diligence a little bit more, but also realize sometimes it's going to happen. And I don't ever want to be overly skeptical of everybody because that's not just it's not my nature. Do due diligence, but not don't go cold hearted around it because I don't you don't want to do that either, you know?
Yeah. And when I say confirm, it's not about doubting. It's just like, can you
Yeah.
hear me? And you go, yes. Well, I might have assumed you answered my question, not somebody else in the room talking to you, right? It's
Yeah.
learning to be self-responsible in the conversation. Uh,
Yeah.
a-
100%.
and it's also knowing breakdowns will happen in business. You'll have a package not delivered. There'll be something will go wrong,
Yeah.
and most of us assume it will work, right? It's
Yeah.
like we don't have this other plan in place.
Yeah, yeah. Communication. I think all relationships rise and fall on communication for sure. So, speaking of that, the whole thing, one of the questions I love to ask on here, Simon, is because we all go through challenges. Oftentimes, it can be very lonely when being a business owner, and we can think, "Oh, I'm the only one going through this challenge.
Yeah.
No one else, or is it just me? Am I stupid or whatever?" So, I like to normalize that and just talk about the challenges. So, what's the number one biggest challenge that you faced that you can maybe talk about? I know some things might be private, but it can be anything in business. What's the number one challenge that you faced in business so far? And what's the lesson that you learned from that?
So many challenges. My dad will tell you the expense lessons of business are the good ones.
Yeah.
So three things come to mind. One was the physical stuff. I went through extreme chronic pain for about 7 years.
Wow.
So we would have a meeting, classic London thing, have a coffee, have a water. You'd be fine. I'd be literally doubled over in pain for 2 weeks. And you go, oh, it's stress, it's IBS. I spent money on everything you could think to find it. I'm trained in stuff. It turned out I had a functional gland in my stomach. And if it hadn't been somebody going, I've had enough, get this sorted, blah, blah, it would have carried on. And I'm like medically around that world, right? It just got
Yeah.
missed until it was, unless you have the surgery, you're going to die. But in the time that was going on, I wasn't thinking straight. I don't mean like doing stupid stuff. I just mean my priorities, what was necessary. I did a bridge finance investment. There's a company down south here. They had a 20 million pound client money hole. 20-year history, friends I'd known vouch for them. I'd been to office, everything, every auditor bid of me, they'd passed the test. They took a friend of mine for 500,000 to 1 million. And that you can imagine when you're going, I can't do this, so I'll put that money in. If I'd not done it, I'd have been better off. And then the impact of the person you did it was a friend for 8 years and his other bits and pieces. That's the stuff that you can hear in me. Like I'm sort of, we've done our clearing work and ah, because, and I have a charity, right? Like because that happened, we couldn't help single mums not feed them. Like there was other stuff, the ripple effect of it that goes on. And that
Yeah.
touches on the value of options and liquidity and cash flow.
Mm.
I think, have you anybody got some technology around that you haven't used for a while that you
Oh,
think you can go get
yes.
the cash like this, and then you discover that eBay, Facebook Marketplace, even CEX, it's not that quick and easy. So we the assumption of like, well, you can buy it easily, we can sell it easily. And so liquidity and cash flow becomes really important. And actually, we
Mm.
had that many years ago, now a long time ago. Somebody made a large donation. I'm talking a six-figure donation. How that happened blew me away because I thought they were this person. It's like meeting you and turning out your uncle's Jeff Bezos. You're like, okay, I thought you worked in the coffee shop. Well, I do, but actually I own the entire coffee chain. So it was really
Yeah.
awesome. They basically did a fraud. They lied to HSBC. They lied to Lloyd's. I've got all the records, but the cost to go win against them was two years' work and 100 grand. The stress of doing it, and it's just like goodbye, inshallah, all that stuff, right? But the impact of that money coming in, you think the money's yours, and it isn't until it's a long
Mm.
time later. There's a book about that, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
And most people you and I know, they're starting out in business, even they're doing really well, right? I've had friends, 1 million a month in cash flow, and then a client happens, and suddenly they're near bankruptcy. Some of the biggest event organizers, biggest companies, even the governments now actually have this bankruptcy challenge going on. But
Mm.
it's very hard to have a sale come in, the cash come in, and not assume it's your money until the client's happy, they've referred, done testimonials, and it's like 6, 9 months after. You get
Mhm.
that sort of mindset
Yeah.
switch, and we
Yeah.
know it because we've all done it. Like we hey, can have a refund that and change my mind. And if you're going, no, you can't, 'cause I spent it, that's a problem. So having that liquidity war chest, having that buffer,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a painful lesson. You know, it's
Yeah.
especially when you're building fast. I built one of the first. I did web apps and mobile apps very early on. I prioritized. It was the first relation app on the App Store. We built an app called Fresh Forms to style opt-in forms. This is way back when it was hard to do that stuff.
Yeah.
My IP has been borrowed by virtually everybody else around the world. And the
Yeah.
company that we built it with, I think the guy who said he could do this for that, I can do X for Y money in Z time, meant it. And he did a good job at the first, but then we found the back end wasn't as organized as it should be. He didn't know about RAD application development and red, amber, green project management stuff. So I taught him that stuff. And we had a
Mm.
bigger project going on. We agreed another pricing, and I'm literally building out to sell. I'm going to America. I'm building all these joint venture partners, thinking we've got this thing to show them. It's all mocked up, ready to go. And then they changed their minds. Then like, actually, we said this, but that'll now be for an alpha, not even a beta, and it'll be another 6 months and too much money. And it wasn't just the amount of money, it was that trust thing that had gone. And it was
Yeah.
literally like, no, like imagine today if I turn up not ready to talk to you going, oh, actually, no, I've forgotten. It doesn't work. You've got to be in that mode. And as you know, we get momentum flowing. We had people flying in from Australia, America to Phoenix for Salesforce, the iPad launches, and Fusionsoft. This was years' work. And then because somebody doesn't, it's a little glitchy things.
Yeah.
So that little lesson, and we see that like when the COVID stuff happened, the World Expo that we'd planned 10 years planning to launch things at the World Expo in Dubai, all of it died.
That's crazy, man.
Again, it's in Chaos to Clarity. I had an event planned called Fresh Flow on 9th September. I had people coming in for my first event after lockdown, and the Queen dies on the 8th September, and the castle ring me up and goes, yeah, the Queen's died. Like, it's really sad. Yeah, the Queen's died. No, the Queen's died. Okay. The venue is not available. It's now a funeral location tomorrow morning. All your stuff. We bought banners. You can imagine like a big event, like 100 people, technology, all had to be removed before 7 a.m. And you just sit there going, I
Wow.
so it's sort of laugh about it. And I have friends that do the big events like Live Aid and Lady Gaga concerts. The stuff that can go wrong is insane. But what do we all have to do? Overcomplicate it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like make it as complex as possible and all these bits and pieces, like keep it simple. So
Yeah.
that sort of touches on the stuff. At the heart of it is though, it's a lonely journey, be not alone. And sometimes people they come and go. I'm being really real with you today, Jason. Like the hardest thing for me is when a client vanishes or a partner or a friend vanishes, and
Mm.
I assume I've messed up, I've upset them,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Then 3 years later, it's like, no, it wasn't that, it was this, that, the other, and you're like, okay, but I took that personally because
Mm.
I'm wired that way. I'm a sort of
Yeah.
there's the slightly strange British version of, hey, James Bond on steroids. It's all whatever. It doesn't matter. Like next, aha. That's
Yeah.
not how we're. I'm a northern guy, right? We
Yeah.
like we like people
Yeah.
and being honest and just be
Yeah.
workable. But not everybody's going to be your people, and there
No,
are going
I
to be
totally
these
agree.
weird things that happen. Um, and sadly, business is personal, but it's also distorted. And especially today, my biggest, if I could reset the whole game, the way people use Facebook, LinkedIn, relationship stuff, they don't remember that the core of British business was based on trust and community and actually liking each other. Not the no like trust thing, but like if you went to a baker and you got good bread, you'd go back and tell people this raving fans. But so
Yeah.
many are like, I got a sale. It's like, well done. You've managed to close in the DM a high ticket sale. You ripped somebody off. You can't deliver it. You've got your commissions. Well done. You're on 50 grand a month, but you're not actually helping. And it
Yeah.
makes the space really hard to tell who's real,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, hopefully that lands
I
a
feel
little.
you. I totally understand that and know exactly what you're talking about as well. So
Yeah,
absolutely. But here's the good news. You're still here, which is fantastic.
we are
So
still here. Yes.
yeah. So what's the goal over the next 2 to 3 years? What are you looking to achieve in your business?
Well, it's an interesting one for me, right? So I've been looking. If I say Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, do you know what I'm talking about?
Of
Charlie Chocolate,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
everybody knows the movie, different names.
Oh
I've
yeah, yeah.
I've been trying to find the equivalent of people where I can go. Here is my phone. We have people's like we have the content, have their email. It's like off you go. We've got stuff for you to do. So I've been building, I think, a business ecosystem since 2002. It was before as well, but especially after that 9/11 happened, I went through some training programs, I met some people, and I got my head clear about a simple idea, which is that if we all share what works,
Mm,
we all get better. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so there's sharing solution, there's sharing ways of doing that, communities and creativity work. Today, I've got over 500 domain names. I've got more than that. I've got 100 WordPress sites live. I've got lots of projects. I've got lots of people. People think the capital's the challenge. It really isn't. It's people.
Mm,
So I've got an award-winning book, The Five Connections, right? I'd love somebody to go, you know what? I will run with that forever. Go, cool. I'm joking. Simon the Pie Man, the old nursery rhyme. I'm happy
yeah.
having a small bit of a small bit of a big pie. But if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, my mum's not running it. My friends aren't running it. And I
Mm,
actually had a 3 day with PwC about this. And they were like, you should hire some more people. It's like, I understand that theory. That's not actually sorting it. Because if you've ever had staff come in or partners come in 3 to 5 years in, they tend to want to go do their own things and they separate. So it's not
yeah.
about trying to build monoliths to the future, but there is this bit of how do we really do knowledge transfer for long run?
Yeah.
Um, in equally on technology, I'm sure you know WordPress, Kajabi,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah.
Even though the technology to have them be stable, secure is actually available, every time you think it's stable, a glitch happens. That happens with AI apps, happens this stuff. So we've all built this very unstable tech stack, I think you and I have an age. You might remember about 6 years ago when there were global name server issues at Cloudflare and GoDaddy, and
Yep.
everybody's stuff goes down.
Yep.
And so the idea of load balance, it's like this just doesn't need to be this complicated. So I really want to get into a space where others can run with stuff. We do have, as you mentioned, business interests. So we have, for example, the simple idea is a publishing company, incubator. We've helped thousands of authors publish their books, usually by being sort of the I'm with Simon, who has have you meet my friend Joe, meet my friend
Mm.
Mindy, meet my friend so and so, right? So I like being that connector, the alchemy guy that can go, you know what, like a band, like Simon Cowell, tie this together. Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting is a really interesting question, Jason, because I own a brand called Customer Avatars and Customer Archetypes, right? The ICP, who's your ideal client? My ideal client is more about the value and the connection, which gets confusing because I can
Yeah.
have this with a billionaire or a broke homeless person,
Yeah.
but also it's the energy and the days and the flows. But today, more than ever, we want to move things forward and get these things operating. So I'm excited about finding the right people who can tie together the capital, the sales, marketing, and the integrity bit where you can open some doors.
Yeah.
Before we started the show, a little how we might have met years ago, right? So I know people, I know lots of stuff about the people, not like a secret library of information, but they go, oh, I'd love to meet someone who's a television presenter. I've got clients, that's their date, we've been on TV. I was on TV.
Mm.
I've got friends at William Morris agents. And I mean, friends I can ring up and they go, how are you, Simon? That's that relationship capital.
Yeah.
But you can't just give that to the new intern. You can't just go, here's it goes. And weirdly, this is the last bit of the story, I guess, that's sort of relevant is when I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers, I had an understanding of what being a partner was because of people I'd been around before.
Mm.
Um, what I've realized now, 48, nearly 49 next year, partnership and partners is very nuanced. It's kind of like being married, right? Or being friends. There isn't actually a rule book for it, and there is, but there isn't. And it becomes something of will they operate the way you'd like them to or with consensus? And how do you handle those breakdowns and how do you build it out? So
Mm.
our ideal Strategic Alchemy Group partners, they've all got $1 million in the bank account. They're not worried about who can pay for coffee, right? That's sort of
Yeah.
we've got past that point. I've got
Yeah.
a newish friend, right? 2 years in, smart lawyer. She wants help with tech. If I tell her I'm a 10 grand an hour consultant, she's like, I can't afford that. I want to get for it. We spent 2 hours talking about it. I've already in my head solved her problem, but because she wants to understand, well, what am I paying for and how much time is it going to take me? I want to go like check out the Christo video, the Christo one about branding and time. But there's
Mm.
this
Yeah.
glitch when you want to just be able to go, right, how do we get the job done? And I
Mm.
said to you joking earlier, but not joking, I'd love to pay £1 trillion in tax, have the charity fully funded with billions a month coming in, all these projects that we've been incubating moving forward. And
Yeah.
actually, tell me introduction, it's helping these good people do great things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you go, what's a good person? I think you know, right? It's like somebody goes, hey, I've sold this new really addictive chocolate bar. You're like, that's great. That's not necessarily helpful. You help
Yeah.
kids deal with Asperger's, deal with autism, people getting healthy. One of my clients is in the obesity space, helping women like literally own their energy. But it's not about
Mm.
having a six-pack body or anything. It's actually being happy in yourself. And I will
Yeah.
touch on that. Like we are at a time where mental health and depression rates and suicide rates have gone the wrong way.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
even like us right today, it's easy than ever to talk, to connect, and yet actually with everything that's happening between the marketing, the algorithms, the space, the global economics, more and more noise is happening and less actual communication and relationship building
Yeah.
because everybody's
Yeah.
really busy. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not. I've sort of retired in my 27. Domain name value, right, Jason? So
Yeah.
by the way, this, if you're listening in, I've got domains to option and license like make3d.com, the nyeparty.com, the world's best chocolate.com. You can imagine they're worth more than $1. I had those in my 20s as a banking guy that knew that a domain name was an option on sort of virtual real estate. That gives
Yeah.
you a
Yeah.
sense of why I'm a sort of strange person. So
Yeah.
we're already doing stuff, and it's how can we have more fun? But the drive isn't to go make $1 billion a day and kill ourselves in the process. It's making that difference, helping others do that. And when we do that collectively, we all win.
Yeah. Love it. I love it. Absolutely amazing, Simon. Well, for people that are wanting to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about what you do and any of the things you do, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is very easy. Simon Hedley, you'll discover actually my name. If you Google me, I'm like the easiest guy in the world to connect with. So that you'll find I'm everywhere, right? So simonhedley.com, LinkedIn, the team at simonx.com, they handle our incomings. So they do this sort of comms management and strategic management for entrepreneurs for 2 decades. So, but honestly, just grab me on LinkedIn and here to help if I can.
Amazing. Well, I definitely recommend everyone, please do check out Simon on LinkedIn and anywhere else that you might find him online. Simon, thank you so much for being on the show today and just loads and loads of just experience and wisdom and knowledge you shared today. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you taking the time out to being on the show. And as a reminder for everyone listening, the show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects that doesn't rely on any of the old, ineffective, traditional marketing methods that everybody hates. Find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. And until next episode, stay inspired.